Hi everybody, this is Pam with Jesus Junk Journals, and I'm going to work on the binding today. Not sure what I'm going to do. I sort of want to go sneak off in a corner somewhere and try it myself before I put it on a video, but then I thought, well, that's no fun. So I'm going to go ahead and do trial and error or whatever I end up doing with the video so you can watch and hopefully learn from whatever mistakes I make. So let's go and see what happens. Okay, so I've sort of been putting off dealing with the binding. You've heard me maybe talk about my plans to bind this in a different way. Before you try it, be sure you watch all my videos and see if it worked, because I don't know if it's going to work or not. So wait and see, and at the end I'll either say yes, it worked, or nope, it didn't, and don't do it. But I want to use fabric. I saw a picture, and all I saw was a picture of the spine of a journal, and it looked like it had 5 or 6 signatures, and they were all a different fabric, and I love that, and I thought it was so cool looking, so I want to do that. And so I'm going to try to just kind of wing it and do it on my own, how I think that would happen. The problem is, one of the problems is the fabrics that I have bought, they're gorgeous, and to me they look very boho. I got them at that outlet that I go to. So like these, I showed you the cover one the other day. These are some more that I had stashed away. Now this one's not that heavy, but these others are heavy, and I'm worried about the bulk if I cut a piece of it, but I'm going to do it anyway. I mean, this is like seriously heavy upholstery fabric. So I am going to give it a shot, see what happens. And I'm going to cut these down into some strips, and then I'll be back. I have been studying and thinking and trying to come up with how I want to bind this Esther Journal. So I've decided I'm going to do a prototype, and I'm going to use this cord I've had left over from making pillows a long time ago, and this is piping cord. Like when you see pillows and they have that rounded trim around the edges of them, this is what's inside of them. And I mean, I think you can get it at Walmart or a sewing store, craft store. And so I'm going to tear strips that are the length of my journal and about 2 inches wide. And I'm going to take this piping and I'm going to sew it into the middle of it. And so I'm going to double it over, and I'm going to sew it right as close as I can get to that piping. And I'm going to do that for each signature, a different fabric. And then on the cover, I'm going to cut the cover and then add another like 2.5 inches. And then I'm going to sew this into it so that it has the full cover on this side. If you turned it over, it'll have a flap on the other side. And so this may not be clear. So what I'm going to do once I sew these is for each signature that I make, I had said I was going to use a sewing machine and sew them, I think, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and bind them like I always do, because I really like doing it that way, and it's easy to me. So I'm going to do each signature with 4 pages. I'm going to use 3 of my journal pages and then an extra page for journaling on. Or on one of them, I'm going to use a fabric page, I think. And so I'm going to bind them the normal way with the 3 holes and stitch it with the wax linen thread. Then I'm going to take these little things that I've sewn, and with Fabri-Tac, this will be stitched here, but I'm going to stick the signature into that and glue it in. And when I get all finished, I'm going to sew through all of these bindings this way and this way and this way, all through here, so that it will be stitched together. And from the back, all you'll see are the different fabrics on a rounded spine. You'll see all the fabrics lined up, the back and the front. And then when it opens, it should open fairly flat. We'll humor me and we'll go through this process. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the sewing machine and sew several of these together, and then I'll be back. Okay, I found a fabric I'm going to use for my prototype cover and back cover, front and back. And this is a cloth I have had for like 40 years. When I went to the Kansas City Art Institute, in one of my very basic classes, the professor told us to go buy some plain canvas material. So I went and got, I think he said 2 yards, I don't know. So I have this big piece of this fabric that I have had all these years, and I've used it many, many times just as a backdrop when you're painting or dyeing or doing whatever, stamping. I had a fibers class and I remember stamping on this, but anyway, I kept it, and so it really looks pretty cool. And so I'm going to cut it up and use it for my cover and my back cover. So I'm going to go over to the sewing machine and do this to it. I'm going to show you. So here's the ones I sewed. And so it's got that cording. I cut the piece of cording, folded it into the middle of the fabric, and I used my zipper foot. And in case you don't, if there's any new people that don't know what that is, let me go grab it real quick and I'll show it to you. Sorry I don't have the camera where I can set it up over my sewing machine, but this is the, I think it's called a zipper foot. I think if my home ec class from high school serves me, I think that's what this is. And so you put that on instead of your general use foot, and it allows you to get really close and press into this cording like that. And you just take your foot off and put this one on instead, screw the little screw. This adjusts it so you can slide this foot backward and forward, so the needle can either be on this side of it or this side of it. So you put it on there, lower your needle, unscrew this, push it up so it's not touching the needle, but it's very close. Tighten that up, and you're ready. And so you just sew it along there like that, and it makes it like that, which if you've ever made pillows or want to make pillows, that's how you put piping on. So I did 3 of those, and now I'm going to go over and put it on these 2 pieces of the cover, and then I will be back. Okay, so I put this in. So I left this like 2-inch flap, and there's the back cover. So it'll be like that. And then I'm going to make 3 signatures with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just am taking 5 pieces of cardstock and folding them in half, and I'm going to do 3 signatures of those, and then I'm going to bind them the standard way. I'll show that in just a second. Here's one that's already bound, and then I'll be back. Okay, I'm going to bind these 2 signatures real quick. I've got a piece of foam that I got out of an Amazon package somewhere. I've got a bookbinding kit that I got on Amazon for about, I don't know, $7 or $8. It comes with these darning needles. So I usually use a small one. I don't think that's quite big enough. I'll use this one. And then I use wax linen thread. And I usually go 2.5 times the height of the signature. So there's 2.5. Thread your needle. In case you haven't done this before, you kind of run your thumbnail over and it flattens it out and it goes into your eye of your needle a lot easier that way. And take my awl, A-W-L. I've got 5 sheets of cardstock here, and I'm going to stick it in the middle. And I've decided that this is going to be my first official commonplace book that I mentioned on my last video. It's apparently been done since 1570. And it makes sense because it's something everybody needs to do. But it's a book you make, or journal, where you just keep all of your information that you accumulate all day long. And I'm intrigued by it. So, okay, so I ran my needle through the middle hole, poked the one on the end, bring the needle up through that, hold on to this tail so it doesn't get away, pull it tight, and poke this hole. Oh, I already did. Poke the hole up here at the top. So what you're going to do is make a figure 8. You're going to go back through this hole, and this is the only tricky part. Don't catch that thread when you poke it back through that hole. So pull the thread tight and then poke your needle up at the top of that hole. And pull it out here, put it back in this hole, and you're done. You just tie it in a knot, pull it tight, make sure you've pulled it really tight, and then tie it, pull it to the center, tie a double knot, and that is it. And you can, depending on your starting point, you can either have your tails on the inside to tie things to, or you can start at the back and run it that way, and then your tails are on the outside. In this case, all I have to do is fold it the other way, and my tails are on the outside. So I'm going to do one more. And so now, in this experiment that I'm doing, I'm going to go ahead and cut these tails off because I don't want them in the way. And I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac glue and glue the fabric pieces that I did. Okay, and just so you know, I have not seen this done anywhere. I have not done it before, so hopefully this works. And I just thinned this down, so hopefully it behaves itself and works well. So I'm gonna put some on one side and then glue this on. And I see I've got extra, so I'm going to pull this down just because I don't want to cut it off. I want it to stick down a little bit at the bottom. So I'm going to do that. And I didn't get it pushed all the way in. I want that all the way back against that cording as best I can. And then I'm going to do this side. Pull it as tight as I can get it without making the cording come over the edge. All right, so far so good. Okay. Ooh, kind of hard to grab a hold of that. Okay. I'm going to pull it down like this, see if I can get it down where I want it to be. And smooth it out at the same time. Okay, there's that side. I'm always looking for ways to get fabric into my journal, so this is kind of a fun way to do it. Get that frayed edge. Hopefully it doesn't cover up anything important on my journaling pages when I do the Esther Journal. Okay, and then one more. So, I don't know if anybody's done it this way before. Maybe this is something else they've been doing since the 1500s, but if they are, I am unaware of it. But I'm sure someone will tell me if they have been. Okay, let's see. All right, there's that. Now the covers, when I do the Esther journal, I'll probably do several layers of fabric and all that, but on this one I'm not going to. I'm just gonna lay this on one side, gonna stack these up, and I'm gonna sew them through the cording, like in 3 places. And I'm going to use, I think I'll use this binding, this, should have left my needle out. Pull out one of these needles, these darning needles. And like I said, this is an experiment, so I don't know how this will go, but let's see. Cut this off. Got to think for a second where I want the tails to show at. And I think if I leave them on the outside, I could tie things to them, which might be fun. And I guess I can just do this in one fell swoop. So I'm going to make sure these are lined up fairly straight, and then center my cover. And then center my back. I'm just going to run the needle through. Oop. Okay, got to remember to stop. Okay, so I'm going to leave it like that. I think I'll do this like, I probably only need to do it once, really, but I'm going to do it just for, you know what, I'm not. I'm just going to do it once because there's no sense in doing it a whole bunch of times. So I'm going to cut that off. I didn't mean to leave this long of a tail, but I think maybe it's okay because I can put beads and things on it. So I'll leave that and cut another piece. I wasn't sure how long to make it since I'd never done this before, but I either need to use a really long piece so I have enough to do all 3, or I guess this is fine where you do each one and cut the piece off. Let's see, so if I do it like this, I don't know if I want, so if I want, this is okay because I can put beads on the top one. These two, I don't know that I need to have beads hanging off of them, but I'm going to cut them long just because who knows what I want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and allow Plus you need a little bit so you don't pull it through when you're stringing this. I'm going to do the, no, I better do the middle one. Okay, so eyeball the center. Looks like about here. I'm going to stick it through. Let me get these all lined up again. I don't know if 3 is enough. We'll find out here in a minute when I open it. I may have to do 5. But it's not hard to do, so I may even, oops, ooh, that was close. Okay, so I'll leave that. I mean, this just goes right through. So, I mean, even if I had to sew it all the way down and up, it would still be fine. Okay, so I'm going to tie that in a knot. I didn't tie this one. I'm going to tie a double knot on this one. And then cut this. I'll go ahead and cut it long just in case I decide I have to have something hanging down there. One more time, and then we'll check it and see what it does. Okay, well, that was just my test. That was just my test. Okay, stick that through. Don't pull it all the way through. Come on. Pull that tail there. And then run it back through. Tie it in a knot. Okay, all right, let's see how it sits. So I need to iron that. Okay, so it does open pretty flat, so that's nice. And then here's in between. That's kind of pretty. Yeah, I mean, I see nothing wrong with it. Okay. And so if you're wondering what is the purpose of this? It's a boho journal, and I was looking for ways to have different fabrics. And I thought I had seen somebody's journal with different fabrics on the spine, but I don't know how they did it. So this is my solution. It looks like actually you might want to put 5 or 4 because it's kind of gap in there. But the concept works, I think. But anyway, so that I do think I'm going to go ahead and plan to do that with my Esther journal. And shooey, I feel better now that it worked and that I know what I'm going to do. So that's it for this, and I will see you soon. Click like if you like the video. Think about subscribing, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.